InferenceQL is a probabilistic programming system for scalable Bayesian automated machine learning from database tables. It is designed to help make Bayesian approaches to data analysis more accessible to broad audiences and to assist experts in auditing and improving the quality of data, models, and inferences. Unlike traditional probabilistic programming systems, InferenceQL, if provided with a data table, automatically learns probabilistic programs modeling this data. The data here is from a citizen science project on Earth satellites. Every row is an Earth satellite, and columns are features about the satellites recorded by volunteers. This data is messy. It contains missing values, and it is heterogeneously typed. But for such data, InferenceQL provides automation for synthesizing models using online non-parametric Bayesian structure learning of probabilistic programs. The left shows a visualization of different aspects of the learned structures. We see how the structure evolves with data from the satellites table streaming in. The result is a learned probabilistic program. On the right, we see new synthetic data generated by executing this program. InferenceQL allows users to query those programs using constructs that interleave standard database queries with Bayesian inference. Users can generate realistic synthetic data subject to constraints to answer questions. InferenceQL's synthetic data generation is faster and more accurate than commercial alternatives. Compared to copulas and neural networks on the right, InferenceQL's synthetic data looks more like the observed data. It captures both the different aspects and clusters in the observed data and the tail of the distribution in the bottom right of the plot. Users can also automatically compute exact probabilities and mutual information values, for example, to find probable errors in their data. To answer the question, which satellites in geostationary orbit have unlikely orbital periods, users write a simple query in InferenceQL. To interpret the results, we note that satellites with geostationary orbits should be recorded with exactly 24 hours worth of period minutes, describing their orbital period. That is 1,440 period minutes for each satellite with such an orbit. Now, the unlikely results that pop up could be due to satellites having engines in green, or due to data entry errors. For example, in red, we see a value near 24. Likely, this is a unit error, and hours were reported instead of minutes. In orange, we suspect decibel errors, on the other hand. In our workshop paper, we show preliminary quantitative results from experiments comparing InferenceQL's modeling accuracy to generalized linear models, variational autoencoders, and generative adversarial networks. Let's have a look at InferenceQL in action. InferenceQL is SQL interleaved operations for Bayesian probability. That means you can run standard SQL queries like this here, showing the first 20 rows in the data table. But you can do more. You can write these generate queries here, where we simply say generate country operator and purpose under the automatically learned baseline models, and then we select 10 from it. One way to view this query is that the generate part generates an infinitely large table and then just selects 10 rows from that table. We can also add conditions here. So for example, we can say given class of orbit is geo and the tri-mass is 500, we can execute this query again. We can go further. For example, we can take the result from this generate query, run it a lot of times, generating 1,000 new rows, and just see sort of like which combinations of purpose and country of operators are most likely under the model, given that the class of orbit is geo and the tri-mass is 500. Let's run this. We see that the most likely combination is communications and the USA as a country of operator. Finally, let's compute one of these probability queries. Let's make this query box a little bit bigger so we can all see it. So what this query does is it computes the probability of the values in the period minutes from the satellites table under this automatically learned baseline model, given the values in each row for apogee, perigee, and class of orbits. Very similar to the query we saw in the slides. Let's run it. Note that we order by probability to actually get the lowest probability values out first. And what you see is what we remember from the slides. First, we see the decimal errors pop up. Remember that it should be roughly 1,440 period minutes. And then we have the unit errors show up.